Shalom, come in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the hopeful elect, pushing his word and truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. This lesson is going to be titled Niggard, right? So, niggard, mean or stingy person. Right, so you can see where the word nigger came from. Like, because people want to think that the so-called white man made that word. He didn't make that word. It's actually the Most High's word. A selfish person who is unwilling to give or spend. Scrooge. Because you don't want to be a niggard, right? When the brother's in need, you're going to help that brother out, right? If you have the money, you can help him, You know, because I remember, like, a couple of years ago, I don't remember which apostle had a lesson, but basically he was saying, if Yahweh Shai asked you for this, would you give it to him? Of course you would. So why wouldn't you give it to your brother, right? Like, you shouldn't worry about him paying you back or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, like, the Most High knows what you need, right? He truly knows what you need. So if you really need that money or whatever, he's going to make it come back to you in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's through that brother, whether, you know, you just happen to come across some money, like however it happens, you're going to get that money back, right? So don't worry about that because it's just money anyways. Like, the Most High can do anything. He can give you triple of that back, right? Other scripture says that charity covers a multitude of sins, right? So that's charity. Right, so I'm going to read from Ecclesiastes 14:3. Riches are not commonly for a niggard. And what should an envious man do with money? Right? So niggards don't usually have a lot of money. They're not usually rich. Being rich is not a normal thing for them. They're usually ones that they are stingy, but yet they're broke at the same time, right? Right. Another trait of a niggard is like someone. Actually, you know what? We're gonna come across it in the scriptures. I'm not even gonna speak from my own experiences. You're gonna go to 9. 9:9. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine, lest thine heart incline unto her. That's not the right one. Slack. And that is something you're not supposed to do. And a niggard would do this, actually. This is not the one I was looking for. I think we need to go back here. Slack, yeah. Okay, here we go. Ecclesiastes 21:8. He that buildeth his house with other men's money is like one that gathereth himself stone for the tomb of his burial, right? And a niggard does this, right? He will take someone else's money and build a house for himself and not pay that person back, right? He took their money. And he's going to build a house for himself with that other person's money, the money that person slaved over to obtain, and not even pay that person back and not even tell them that he took their money and built this house, right? So when that person finds out, because he will find out, right? That's what he says is like the one that gathered himself stones for the tomb of his burial, because that person's going to kill you. You'll be angry. Because you're a thief. That's another trait of niggard. They're thieves. You can't trust them when it comes to money. You can't trust them at all. At all. No matter what they tell you. They're stingy. You know, from my own experiences, my dad's like that. He's a niggard, right? Now, with that being said, I still respect him. He's still my dad, but he's a niggard. I don't trust him for money. Like, when he asks me for money, I don't give it to him because I know he has money. I don't believe him when he says he doesn't have any money. Right? He's just very stingy. So he'll go to his last extremes to not tap into his other savings or whatever because he doesn't want to break it or he doesn't want to spend it because he's stingy. So he'll go and take money from someone else, like, you know, me and my siblings, take money from us and not pay us back when he says he's going to pay us back. Right? And then we have to come to him and ask for our money. And then when you ask for the money, there's a whole issue. Oh, I don't have it. I don't have it. When it's bullshit, you do have it. You just don't want to go into your other bank account. So you do have it. You're just being stingy, right? So those are the people you have to be careful about, right? At the end of the day, like, if it's like an emergency or whatever, you know, well, really, you know, you just got to be circumspect. That's the best way to say it because you don't want to give money to someone like that, right? Because they're not going to pay you back. And when you go and get your money, it's going to be a big hassle, right? So like it said here, they're building a house for they're taking, he that buildeth his house with other men's money is like one that gathereth himself stones for the tomb of his burial, right? Because people are going to get angry. When you get angry, when you, and it's not, a niggard doesn't do this once. This is a continuous thing. This is their habits. So they're going to get a lot of enemies, right? Because you're taking people's money and building things for yourself, or you're making people do jobs for you and you're not paying them the full amount. You know, you cut them. You're like, oh, well, I don't have all of it right now. Can I pay you half? It's like, man, you knew you didn't have this money and you waited for this person to do this job. And now you're going to tell them after the job is done that you only can pay them half. You see what I mean? So you got to be careful. People like that, man. Be very circumspect. 29, we'll start at 5. Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissively. Yeah, read it again. Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissively. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time and return words of grief and complain of the time. Yes, this is basically what I just said, right? You know, when it's time to pay, they're complaining, saying, "Oh, I don't have. There's not enough time. Oh, let me pay you next week. I don't have it right now." Right? If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half, and he will count as if he had found it. If he had found it. If not, he hath deprived him of his money, and he hath gotten him an enemy without cause. Basically what I just said. That's why it's like building, taking the stone for his own burial, because now he has an enemy, because you're playing with someone else's money. You don't know if that person needs that money. You have no idea. You don't know their situation. You only know from what they tell you, and you only know from what you see. You don't know if they're at their last dollar. You don't know any of this, and you're playing with someone's money because you're being cheap. It's not even because you can't even pay them back. It's just you don't want to do it right now because it's inconvenient for you. Right? That's a niggard. Right? And the Most High, the thing is, the Most High sees everything you're doing, so he knows whether you can pay this person back or not. And he's going to get you for it. Because the Most High loves judgment. Right? And he hath gotten him an enemy without cause. He payeth him with cursings and railings. Yeah, so when he pays you, then he's complaining. Like, you know, when he pays you, he's complaining. He's like, oh, I don't have the money. Da, 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 da. And you're like, yo, I need my money. He's like, oh, okay. And he goes and gets some money. He's complaining, all this and that and the fourth, saying all these wicked things to you, right? And for honor, he will pay him disgrace, right? So, like, people like that, you just gotta be very careful, right? Do not trust them when it comes to money. Lose thy money for thy brother and thy friend. Yeah, so if your brother, your friend is asking for money, that's a person you lose that money for. And it says just give it to them. Give them the money. They need help, give it to them. Your brother and your friend, right? And let it not rust under a stone to be lost. Yeah, so there's no point of keeping it like in savings, right? Oh, I don't have the money, right? Because money comes and goes. So you don't want to be holding on to all this money and letting it rust, right? Because it's not being used for anything, right? Because money isn't meant to be spent at the end of the day, right? Now you have to be wise about it. Doesn't mean you go and blow your whole thing, blow all your money. You got to spend on things here and there, but it's not meant to be saved because this thing it's corruptible. The money here is corruptible anyways, right? The real money in currency is spiritual bank account in heaven. That's why if your brother asks for money or your friend asks for money, give it to them. Because you have no idea how that's going to help them. You have no idea. It might be a small amount, but that could go a long way, right? And if you're that person that's asking for the money, pay the person back when you have the money. You know, when you're able to pay them back, pay them back. Just don't be a niggard because it goes both ways. Anyways, that's it on that. I hope this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect. I like to close out by saying, Ka hala Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles of the great millstone and to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. Death and destruction to his wicked kingdom, and in 2/3 as well. Kwam Yasharallah, Abad Babal, Shalom.